Hi everybody, my name is Bridget Fox and I'm a biomedical science major at Marist College and I will be graduating in 2021. Something seems to be missing in this forest. Oh, the American chestnut tree. The American chestnut was a common stately tree from Mississippi to Maine. A blight accidentally brought in by East Asian trees killed an estimated 3 billion or more American chestnut trees. Borrowing wording from the New York Times, everything and anything ate chestnuts. Deer, squirrels, bears, birds, even people. Speaking of people, Henry David Thoreau wrote in his book Walden that when the chestnuts were ripe, I laid up half a bushel for winter. That was in the middle of the 1800s. Chestnuts helped build industrial America. Railroad ties and telephone poles came from our chestnuts. Thousands of barns, cabins, and churches made from chestnut wood still stand today. When the tree gets infected, the above-ground part dies. The roots survive, and then they resprout new little trees. So instead of having tall, stately trees like we had prior to the early 1900s, we now have small chestnut trees, and you can see them in many places around the New England woodlands. The leaves look like this. Now, let's contrast the traditional breeding with genetic engineering. With traditional breeding, as practiced for thousands of years, farmers and, more recently, scientists cross varieties of closely relative species with desirable traits. Meiosis then shuffles the genetic deck and people select for what they want. Sometimes they want a larger size, which does have a higher yield. Sometimes they want a certain color. Sometimes people select for disease resistance. The process is slow with traditional breeding, typically making multiple generations of plants or whatever organism is being bred. Traditional breeding has not worked for the American chestnut. Genetic engineering, in contrast, means that there's a lot more control that the scientists have. Specific genes can be selected for even if they come from distant related species. Genetic engineering means precision and speed. Geneticists have been successful after decades of work. Now let me repeat that. For the chestnut, geneticists have been successful at breeding a blight-resistant chestnut after decades of work. In other words, transgenic American chestnut trees exist that are resistant to the blight. Transgenic plants, however, are not available to the public. This story has been adapted from the New York Times Magazine from May 2020. Professor Thomas Mione from Central Connecticut State University suggested that I bring this story to YouTube. My name is Bridget Fox, and I appreciate your attention to my video.